Day number 6 of our Bibbulmun adventure. We need to do about 5k's today. Parked the car at the Mundaring Weir Hotel.
Five minutes walk from the weir is the Mundaring Weir Hotel. It was originally built in 1898 to accommodate visitors arriving to view the construction of the weir, as well as to house the workers. Interestingly, during the Second World War, the weir was considered an enemy target and guards were posted to keep a watchful eye out. The roof of the hotel was painted black and part of the cellar was converted into a bomb shelter. Nowadays the shelter is used as the kitchen. The hotel has had many changes. At one stage, it was run down and in desperate need of renovations. In 1984, the hotel was so run down that it was at the verge of closing. However, it was bought by its current owner, who has restored it to its former glory. It's a great place for a well-earned pint after a walk through the bush.
The forest is essentially a water factory. The trees play a part in making sure the water is clear and clean. The trees around the weir work in two ways. Firstly, they act as a barrier to slow the water making its way to the dam. If there were no trees, rainwater would simply run straight into the dam, taking soil with it and leaving gouges in the ground as it streamed into the weir. The trees slow down the rate at which the water flows. And secondly, they act as pumps to draw water up from under the ground and release it back into the water cycle. If there's not enough trees, this process can raise the water table, which in turn brings salt from the soil up to the surface. In the past, the trees around the weir were cut down so more water would reach the reservoir, but this made the water salty and muddy. To remedy this, quick-growing pine trees were planted to stop the salinity. The Noongar Aborigines use the river valleys as pathways. The track that we're walking today takes us east of the weir, where the open jarrah forest proved to be good hunting grounds. They called the river Mandoon. Colonial engineers recognised the potential of the valley as a site for a storage reservoir for the Goldfields water supply scheme, and perhaps the most well-known engineer to have worked on the project was Charles Yelverton O'Connor, better known as C.Y. O'Connor, who also worked on the construction of Fremantle Harbour, a project that was thought to be impossible. Born in Ireland and father to an impressive 8 children, his legacy still remains a vital lifeline to the Goldfields, a staggering 530 kilometres away. The pipeline is perhaps the world's longest water main, carrying water from here to Kalgoorlie. A succession of gold rushes in the Yilgarn region near Southern Cross in 1887, at Coolgardie in 1892 and Kalgoorlie in 1893 caused a population explosion in the barren and dry desert centre of Western Australia. The project was obviously a success, but subject to prolonged criticism by the press as well as the West Australian Parliament, in the end having been accused of corruption amongst other things, O'Connor took his own life by shooting himself at the age of 59. The lake created by Mundaring Weir is now known as Lake O'Connor.
I'll mark this section as a GPS waypoint. It's a little bit confusing if you get this signal here wrong. Now, to me, obviously it's right now, but we went oddly left before because this track sign is not for this track. It's for this track here, which when you're walking up to it you can't actually see. Easy for someone to slip up because there's also another track here. 3 tracks and slightly confusing signs, which are probably obvious to most, but for someone like me, I did get confused, and we headed up there for a couple of hundred metres before I realised, and we headed back down. It's been a very pleasurable walk. It's probably about 25 degrees, perfect blue skies, as you can see, not a whisper of wind. Great day for a walk.
As I just mentioned, we did take a wrong turn. However, I quickly realised my mistake, as I had not seen the trademark woggle for a while. It's easy to get lost in the bush, so it's essential that you carry a map. Some other things to consider bringing on a day walk like the one that we're on now is a pair of comfortable worn-in shoes or boots, comfortable loose-fitting clothes, a watch, hat, a small day pack with 1 to 2 litres of water, a basic first aid kit, snacks or lunch, sunscreen, a jacket, warm clothing, and perhaps a beanie if the weather looks like it might be cool. It was in September of 1972 that an enthusiastic planning team had designed on paper a Lancelin to Albany walk. However, this was soon abandoned as it was too unrealistic, and in its place a shorter version from Kalamunda to Northcliffe was adopted. With this change of route, the early name of Perth to Albany Track was abandoned and the search for a new name began. Many options were considered until a suggestion that the track be named to recognise the indigenous inhabitants of the area, who called themselves the Bibbulmun people. And so the Bibbulmun Track was adopted as both unique and appropriate. For even though the track was not known to follow traditional travel routes, it recognised the Bibbulmun people's practice of walking long distances for ceremonial gatherings. We arrive at our destination for the day, the Perth Hills Discovery Centre. It's an interesting place and well worth a visit. It's also a great spot to end or start a walk as parking is available.
Clocked up another few kilometres on the track, and the next section, it appears to be very long from the Perth Hills Discovery Centre. It involves multiple nights, so I'll be doing it with my uncle Tim, who is a volunteer for the Bibbulmun Track down south at Lake Marringup, and it'll be me and him doing a big stretch of the track, so the boys won't be involved, which is a shame, but they're just too young. You know, they've just turned 4. I can't really ask them to do multiple nights, so stay tuned.